We want to find the equation of this parabola, and we want to find that equation in both, or in all three forms: vertex form, standard form, and factored form. And so let's begin with vertex form. I think that's the easiest form to start off with if we know what the vertex is. And we do know what the vertex is. The vertex here looks like it's -1, -9. I'm just going to jot that down. -1, -9. So what do I know so far about my vertex form? I know that I have some y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And the h and the k is my x and y of the vertex. So this is going to be y equals a times x. Now this was going to be a plus 1 since I'm subtracting -1. And then plus k, or I guess I should keep the sign for this, so let's make that actually a -9. So this is what I know so far. Oh, and look, don't let me forget this squared. That's really important. This is what I have so far for vertex form. Now I just need to figure out what that a value is. So if you watched the last video, I showed you a little trick to find the a value just by looking at how the step pattern changes on our parabola. So if you don't remember what I said there, I'm going to go to my vertex and I'm going to go out one direction in the x direction, or 1 unit in the x direction. And then I'm going to see how far I go up or down. In this case, I go up 1 unit here. So that means that the a value is going to equal 1. If this were, let me just give you a for instance. Let's say that my parabola looked something like this instead. Let's say I had a couple of points here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say it looked something like this. A little bit more narrow than the parent function. If I were to try and figure out what the a value was of this, I'd do the same type of a thing, where I would go to my vertex and I would go out 1 in the x direction and see how far I have to go up until I hit my graph. And in this case, if I go up 1, 2 units, that means that my a value of this parabola would equal 2. So just a little for instance, hopefully that helps to kind of piece together finding the a value from the graph. Let's get rid of all this. And back to our original. Okay, so that means that my a value is 1. That means that my vertex form is y equals 1 times x plus 1 squared minus 9. And of course, I don't need to keep that 1 out there. That's kind of just some extra. So I'm going to leave that out and just make this more simply x plus 1 squared minus 9. There's my vertex form. Now standard form, let's do that one next. This is going to involve a little bit of legwork here. And what I need to do is I basically need to convert vertex form into standard form. So the way I'm going to do that is, actually I'm going to move this over a little bit, like that, give myself some room. And I'm going to actually begin right here converting this vertex form into standard form. So let's expand first this binomial squared. I need to multiply that together. So this is going to be an x plus 1 times x plus 1. And I can't forget this minus 9 here. And now I'm just going to multiply these two binomials. So x and 1 is going to give me x squared plus x. And then I've got another 1 times x and a 1 times 1. So this is going to be plus x plus 1. And then I need to have that minus 9 still. So this is going to give me x squared plus 2x plus 1 minus 9. So let's plus 1 minus 9. And let's combine all of these terms. I'm just going to write my final answer down here for standard form. So I've got x squared, I've got plus 2x, and I combine these terms here and I have a minus 8. And a good way to check this is, first off, just make sure that you have the same a value. A is 1, a is 1. That's good. And then also remember that the c value in any quadratic equation is the same thing as your y-intercept. So we can actually just check this with the graph. My graph has a y-intercept of -8, and my c value is -8, so that looks good. All right, and then finally we have factored form. So again, remember that the factored form is y equals a times x minus r1 times x minus r2. And I need to figure out what the roots are. So it looks like I have 2 roots, one here and one here. And so I'm going to, the a value is going to be the same, so I'm going to keep the a value 1. I'm just going to leave it out. And I'm going to have x minus negative 4, or the same as x plus 4. And then we're going to have x minus positive 2. And that's it for my factored form. So y is going to equal x plus 4, x minus 2. Now there's some nice ways that you can check this for errors as well. You could multiply these back together and you should get your standard form equation. Or you could go to your standard form equation and factor that, and you should get the same factored form equation here as well. And actually, if you wanted to be so clever, you could have forgone this whole circling the roots and putting it into factored form. You could have just gone straight from standard form into factored form if you just factored this quadratic here. So those are your 3 forms, and there you go.